Greetings from Kardec Radio, where we are bringing listeners another audiobook. This one entitled, Who is Afraid of Death?, written by Richard Simonetti. This first installment covers 4 quotes from historical people, the Preface, and the first chapter titled Beam of Light, of this short 53-page yet very illuminating book. A quote from Seneca. Let us look at the dead ones as if they were just absent. By thus thinking we will not be mistaken. A quote from Scipio. Death is nothing more than the return to the real life. A quote from Alberto Vega. Nothing vanishes and nothing dies. The coating, the shape, the carnal envelope in which the confined spirit struggles, fights, suffers, improves. The shape dies, the carcass, but the soul shines again, the gnome of light. And what is this existence of the body? A single blow, in face of the existence of the soul, the eternity. We are the dead ones, dead in life, in order to live again in death. Preface. Quote from Allan Kardec. To free yourself of the fear of death, one must be able to face it under its true aspect. In other words, to have penetrated in thought the spiritual world, making of it as precise an idea as possible. A few years ago, I lectured about the circumstances related to the return to the spiritual world during a seminar about death held in Brazil, in the city of Bauru. I was surprised at the interest of the audience. Many questions were raised. There are many doubts and much fear, even from religious people, since the traditional knowledge about death is speculative, based on assumptions from medieval theologians. The same happened in other cities where the same lecture was presented. Many people with many questions related to suicide, fatal accidents, disconnection, death of children, organ donation, cremation, cemeteries, euthanasia, abortion, murders and imprudence, addictions, and premonition. There were so many questions that it was not possible to answer all of them. Then I had the idea of writing a book where the most frequent questions about death would be answered. It had to be a first reader on the subject, something that would be interesting to everyone, regardless of religious belief, since no one is exempt from a direct or indirect contact with it, in the form of one's own death or the death of a beloved family member. In an attempt to make it a first reader, I have avoided highly technical concepts as well as an erudite approach. The essence, however, is faithful to the principles of the Spiritist doctrine as codified by Allan Kardec, the blessed source where we seek guidance to face life's difficulties and death's enigmas. Finally, I will be very pleased if this English edition helps someone else kill death, by overcoming fears and doubts, and by understanding that death is only the passport needed for our return to the common nation, the spiritual realms. Chapter 1. Beam of Light. Late at night, a man was walking along a deserted road. The night was dark, no moonlight, dimmed stars. He was worried. There had been many thefts in that area. He noticed someone following him. "Hello. Who is it?" he asked, frightened. He got no answer. He hurried on, but his follower imitated him. He ran. So did the stranger. In panic, as he ran as fast as his legs would allow him to, his heart beating wildly, his lungs burning, he passed by a beam of light. He looked back, and as if by magic, the fear vanished. His chaser was but an old donkey which was used to following wanderers. This story is similar to what happens in relation to death. Immortality is something intuitive to the human being. Nevertheless, many people are afraid of it because they are totally unaware of the process they will have to go through and what will be awaiting for them in the spiritual world. The religions, which should prepare the believers for life beyond the grave, making them conscious of the soul's survival, unveiling the curtains that separate the two worlds, do very little in this regard. They limit themselves to the fields of fantasy. The Spiritist doctrine is the beam of light that sheds its light on the mysterious paths of return, chasing away irrational fears and disturbing embarrassments. Through the lenses of Spiritism, we can look at death peacefully, as we prepare ourselves to face it. This is extremely important, truly fundamental. Since death is the only certainty of the human existence, we all shall die one day. Our planet Earth is a workshop for those who are engaged in enlightening activities, promoting their own renewal. A hospital for those who need to make up for disagreements stemmed from old addictions. A painful prison for those paying for crimes committed in a previous existence. A school for those who have already understood that life is not merely a biological accident, nor the human existence a simple recreational journey. Earth is not our home. Our home is the spirit world, where we can live wholeheartedly, without the limitations imposed by the flesh. Thus, it is easy to understand that we have to prepare ourselves by overcoming fears and doubts, restlessness and mistakes, so that when our time comes we may be ready for a balanced and peaceful return. The first step towards such achievement is to dissociate that dismal, morbid, fearful, supernatural aspect from death. There is an age-old conditioning towards that. There are people who simply refuse to conceive the idea of a family member's death, or even their own. They relegate the subject to a very distant future. Therefore, when the time for separation comes, they are totally unprepared. Where, O death, is your sting? Asks Paul the Apostle in his first letter to the Corinthians, chapter 15, verse 55, demonstrating to us that faith overcomes all fears and anguishes caused by the great transition. Spiritism likewise offers us the necessary resources to face death with similar strength, inspired by faith. Faith, which is not based on a flight of emotions, but a logical, reasoned, conscious faith. It is the steadfast faith of those who are aware of, and know what is awaiting them, and work hard in order to have the best possible return,